There are men who touch and there are men who awaken. The difference isn't in their hands, it's in their intention. Because a mature woman doesn't light up from empty caresses. She lights up when someone dares to touch her where no one else has. Want to know why she's ignoring you? Why she doesn't crave you like before? It's not your age, it's not your body. It's that you don't know how to touch where it truly matters. And as long as you believe desire only starts in the bedroom, you'll keep going in circles, frustrated, unseen. Today, I'm going to show you 5 places where a woman wants to be touched, even if she never says it. Places that awaken her mind, her body, and her soul. The last one is the most powerful of all, but also the most dangerous if you don't know how to use it. I'm Celia, and this isn't a game. This is a lesson for those who are tired of being invisible. Stay with me until the end. You're about to understand things no one has ever told you, and that she will never admit. Have you ever touched a woman and nothing happened? No spark, no shift in her gaze, not even a change in her breathing. Just that awkward silence that tells you loud and clear, it didn't work. Let me tell you why. You touched where everyone else does, but not where she needs it. And that's the problem. You're trying to crack a safe using the same combination you used 30 years ago, and that just doesn't work anymore. Let's start with the first point, the lower back, that place where her armor begins to fall away. It's no coincidence that right there, exactly there, is where the weight of the years settles. Not just physical exhaustion, but emotional too. A woman who has lived, who has carried children, partners, heartbreaks and choices that left her empty, doesn't need hands that touch without meaning. She needs to be touched with a presence that says, I'm here, I see you. Picture this, she's standing in front of you, washing dishes, sorting papers, reading, caught in the routine as always. You approach her without saying a word and place your hand on the curve of her lower back, not roughly, not with lust, with firmness and respect, a gesture that doesn't seek sex, but presence. And in that moment, if you do it right, something shifts, not because you're turning her on, but because you're speaking to her subconscious. You're reminding her that someone still sees her as a woman, that someone notices what everyone else overlooks. But don't get it twisted, this isn't magic. It's not about touching for the sake of it. It's about being there, letting your energy say what your words no longer can. The lower back is a place that screams without a voice, and only men who've stopped chasing approval can hear that scream. Want proof? Think back to the last time a woman shivered when you barely touched her waist. It's probably been so long you can't even remember it as something real, because you've lived thinking that strong moves, direct words, or bedroom tricks are what keep desire alive. But they're not. It's the detail, the pause, the touch that says, I'm not here to use you, I'm here to see you. Touch her there with intention, not like someone expecting something in return. Do it knowing that small gesture could be the beginning of a whole new way to connect, a way to rebuild something you thought was lost. And if you do it right, if you do it without rushing, you'll realize it's not her skin you're touching. It's her story, her struggle, her deep need to be seen, not as a mother, a wife, a friend, but as a whole woman. That's how desire begins to awaken, not through the flesh, but through the soul. And that, my friend, is something few understand, and almost no one dares to teach. If you understood what I told you before, then you already know that desire doesn't ignite from the surface. It ignites when you touch with purpose, when you make a woman feel there's still fire beneath the ashes. And that fire isn't stirred by what's obvious, but by what's forgotten. We've now reached the second key point of this video, the inner arm, the contact that revives what's been left behind. Because right there, where few ever look, lies one of the most powerful areas for emotional and physical connection. But since it's not visible, not often mentioned, most people ignore it. And that ignorance is costing you her desire. The inner arm is an area rich in nerve endings, highly sensitive according to neuropsychology. But that's not what matters most. What truly matters is that this spot is deeply tied to emotional memory. Yes, affective memory. The kind that stores the earliest tender touches, the gestures of care, the genuine caresses from someone who wanted nothing more than to simply be there. When you touch that place with both delicacy and intention, you're not seducing her like some desperate teenager. You're awakening buried memories. You're saying, without words, I can touch you without needing anything in return, just because you deserve to be touched. Now think about this. How many times do you think a mature woman has been touched without expectations? How many times has someone laid a hand on her just to remind her that she's still alive, still worthy of affection with no strings attached? Very few. Because over the years, touch becomes mechanical, or it disappears altogether. The men around her stop touching her with curiosity. They see her as a mother, a friend, a support system, but not as a woman. And that does more damage than time ever could. That dries up the roots of desire. There's a powerful idea in Stoicism. You can't control how others see you, but you can control the value you place on small acts. Touching the inside of her arm is a small act, but one full of intention. It's a choice to be present, and that choice, when done right, has the power to restore what seemed gone. A woman who receives that touch doesn't think, he's trying to seduce me. She thinks, he's reminding me that I matter, that I still have something to offer, that there's still beauty in me. That kind of touch doesn't demand, doesn't pressure. It simply exists, but its impact runs deep, because it awakens in her a primal need to feel valued. It tells her, without words, that someone sees her, not for her years, her wrinkles, or her battles, but for who she still is. And when a woman feels that, she changes. She stops putting up walls. She lets her guard down. She starts looking at you differently. Not because you're promising anything, but because you're giving her back something she thought she'd lost, her right to be desired. The big mistake is thinking desire is triggered by lingerie, sweet talk, or empty promises. No, desire is triggered when you dare to touch what others won't, when you choose to be different. When you understand that a body isn't just skin, but a story, and that every gesture, every contact can be the key to unlocking a forgotten door. So next time you're with her, don't go for the quick route. Place your hand on the inside of her arm. Don't say a word. Just stay there, fully present, fully feeling. And if you do it right, you'll notice it. Not in her immediate reaction, but in her breath, in the way she looks at you, in that faint tremble that betrays something inside her has awakened. And that's where the real magic begins. Not the sex, not the conquest, the real connection, the one that lasts, the one that transforms, the one very few men ever achieve. You already know that touching isn't the same as connecting, and that a poorly delivered caress, one without intention, is worse than doing nothing at all. We've already talked about the lower back, the inner arm, but now we've reached a spot that most ignore because they're afraid to explore what they don't understand. This is the third key point in this video, and it's where things begin to shift, the edge of the jaw, where vulnerability turns into surrender. This place isn't just sensitive in a physical sense. It's sensitive because it represents both strength and fragility. It's an exposed area, close to the eyes, the neck, the mouth. Touching it is a way of saying, I'm close enough to hurt you, but I choose to protect you. And do you know what that does to a mature woman? It gives her back the ability to trust. It reminds her she can let her guard down without being invaded. Because the edge of the jaw isn't a place to rush. It's touched by someone who has all the time in the world. Someone who understands that real desire doesn't live in urgency. It lives in stillness. Here's a practical strategy that can completely shift how you relate to a woman who's lived. Next time you're talking with her in a calm moment, don't interrupt the conversation with romantic words or hints. Just lean in slowly and place your finger gently along the edge of her jaw. Just enough pressure to feel it. Look into her eyes. Don't smile, just look. Hold that moment for a few seconds. Then, slowly lower your hand. Don't say anything. Just continue the conversation as if nothing happened. Did you feel that? That's power. not through manipulation, but through presence. Because that gesture says something no compliment ever could, that you hold power, but you don't use it to control. You use it to protect. It tells her you have nothing to prove, that you're simply there, and if she wants, she can stay. This kind of contact breaks the pattern, because most men are always searching for the right moment, the perfect time to kiss, to touch, to say something that might work. But the men who truly awaken desire, they don't wait for moments, they create them. And this touch to the jaw isn't a technique, it's a silent declaration. You're telling her she can surrender without fear, that you're not here to take advantage, you're here to see her, fully, scars and strength alike. Before we move on, I want to ask you something important. If what you've heard so far has made you reflect, subscribe to the channel and give us a like. It's the only way this message can reach those who truly need it. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. Just write, "I love wisdom," because this is just getting started. 2 more points remain, and the last one isn't just powerful, it's life-changing. If you're brave enough to stay, you'll understand why. If you've made it this far, then you already understand that touching the body without touching the soul is like lighting a candle in a room full of dust. It flickers for a second, then dies out. Real connection isn't built on charming phrases or memorized techniques. It's built on presence, intention, and understanding. But there's a silent, nearly invisible mistake that can ruin all your progress, even when you think you're doing everything right. Let's talk about the 4th point, the back of the knees, the place she never expected you to notice. This spot, forgotten by nearly everyone, is the perfect metaphor for what happens when you ignore what can't be seen. Because behind the knees lies a kind of sensitivity that doesn't respond to logic or immediate desire. It's a zone that represents what's been left behind, what's hidden, what's deemed unimportant. And here's where the mistake lies. Thinking that only what's visible matters, that only what she shows you needs to be touched. So many men get obsessed with the obvious. They try to change their lives from the outside in by improving their appearance, changing how they speak, faking confidence. But the deeper layers, they leave those untouched, just like the back of the knees, sensitive, overlooked, vulnerable. Here's the trap. Believing that if something isn't talked about, it doesn't exist. That if a woman never asks to be touched there, it must not mean anything. That just because you don't understand the value of something, that value doesn't matter. And so you keep living, avoiding what's uncomfortable, what you don't know how to handle. That's why so many men fail in their relationships, because they try to change from the outside, while on the inside, they stay exactly the same. And she notices, not with words, but with her body, with her silence, with the distance you just can't seem to bridge. When you touch the back of her knees, you're telling her something no other man has had the courage to express, that you care, even about the parts she's forgotten herself, that you're not just there for what's easy, for what's immediate, for what shines. You're there for what truly matters. And to the mind of a mature woman, that's revolutionary, because most have already given up. They've stopped expecting that kind of attention. They've gotten used to being invisible in the deepest parts of their body and soul. The consequences of ignoring this run deep. It's not just her desire you lose her respect, because she can tell when you're improvising. She knows when your gestures come from a formula, not from true intention. And that's when you become just another one, another man who didn't know how to touch where it aches, where it pulses, where there's still life. Touching the back of her knees isn't an erotic act. It's proof that you're willing to explore what others never even see. And if you do it right, if you reach that spot with the same ease you'd use to caress her face, something deep begins to shift. Not just in her, in you. Because when you train yourself to see what no one else sees, to value what others overlook, you also start seeing your own life differently. You notice everything you've ignored about yourself, your fears, your repressed emotions, your own desire to be touched with respect, with curiosity, with presence. So don't fool yourself. What seems like just another part of the body is actually a doorway to the soul, and that door only opens to those who aren't afraid to see the invisible, to those who aren't chasing quick results but true, lasting transformation. We've reached the final point in this journey, and if you've truly been listening, you already know we're not talking about seduction techniques. We're talking about reconnecting with something most people have already given up on: self-respect. This fifth point isn't just a spot on the body, it's a symbol of everything you've been ignoring. The scalp, the place where connection goes beyond the physical. And if you don't understand what it represents, you'll stay trapped on the surface thinking desire is physical, when it's actually mental, emotional, spiritual. Touching a woman's scalp isn't the same as running your hand through her hair. It's touching the root of her world, the place where thoughts gather, tension builds, doubts take hold. It's telling her, without a single word, I don't just want your body, I want your mind, and I'm willing to hold it. But not everyone can do this, because if you get it wrong, it's invasive, clumsy, uncomfortable. Getting it right takes full presence. It takes a man who's not afraid of silence, who knows how to let his hands speak. And here's the issue: most men can't handle silence. They need immediate results. They want her to react, to give a sign, to validate them. And when she doesn't, they get frustrated, pull away, or worse, play the victim. I did everything right and she didn't even look at me, they say. What they don't get is that desire doesn't come from pressure. It comes from patience. Touching the scalp isn't about arousal, it's about connection. It's about making her feel, maybe for the first time, that someone can hold her without asking for anything in return. But if you're still chasing shortcuts, you'll end up like so many others, frustrated, confused, wondering why she keeps pulling away. The reason is simple. It's not that she can't feel anymore, it's that she doesn't trust. And your impatience, your need to get something in return, only confirms what she already fears, that it's not worth opening up, that no man truly understands the power of deep connection. The scalp, when touched with intention, releases oxytocin, the hormone of trust, and if you can make her feel that with you, without sex, without manipulation, then you're finally touching what truly matters. But it's not easy. It takes a different mindset. You have to stop acting like an emotional beggar, desperate for her validation. You have to start moving like a man who's already whole. Because only from that place of fullness can you touch without needing, without rushing, without anxiety. That's the difference between men who ignite desire and men who only evoke pity. Changing this pattern doesn't start with different gestures. It starts with a different intention, with understanding that if you're not willing to touch with your soul, it's better not to touch at all, because women can feel it, not with their skin, but with their energy, and if you're empty inside, she'll know. So change, but change for real, not with promises, not with sweet words, with presence, with patience, with respect. And if you don't know where to start here. Next time you're with her, say nothing. Move closer, place your hand on her head, just rest it there. Breathe calmly. Don't look for a reaction, just stay. Because that gesture, when done right, can awaken something in her that no one else has ever touched, her desire to trust again. And when that happens, then yes, be ready. Because you won't just be touching a woman, you'll be touching her soul. And that's where the real begins. That's where true desire lives. If you've made it this far, you're not like the rest. Most people walk away when it starts to hurt, when the truth shakes their ego or reminds them of everything they've let die. But you stayed, you listened, you reflected, and now there's a decision in front of you to keep going through life the same way, skimming the surface, or to dare to touch where it truly matters. No one can force you to wake up, but if anything you heard today stirred something inside, then you can't just close your eyes again. It's time to acknowledge those who don't give up, those who still believe they can reclaim respect, desire, and presence. If you're one of them, write it in the comments along with your country. Just 4 words: I learned to touch right. That one phrase says it all. Because this isn't just about women, it's about you, about how you choose to engage with the world, with your emotions, with your dignity. I'm Celia, and this channel, House of Wisdom, doesn't exist to entertain you or to tell you what you want to hear. It exists to shake you, to help you reclaim the power you've handed over to others. Here, we don't deal in empty theories or easy promises. We talk about living with strength, with intelligence, with intention. Subscribe now if this message sparked something in you, not for me, for you. Because being part of this community is a choice to wake up even when it hurts. It's choosing to stop living numb and start moving with clarity. Share this video. Maybe someone else needs to hear what you've come to understand today. And don't go just yet. This video isn't the end, it's just the beginning. 2 more will appear on screen. One will show you how to reclaim lost respect. The other, how to set boundaries without guilt. Pick the one you need most right now. Because the conversation doesn't end here, it's just getting started.